Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Chris in Liverpool, England. I was watching some early 80s Memphis, and there was a handicap match. Adrian Street, Miss Linda, and your good self versus Bill Dundee and Jerry Calhoun.
Oh, yes.
Just wanted to know how that match came about, as I didn't see any of the TV leading up to it. The copy I watched was about 6th generation, but it looked like Dundee caught you with a beauty of a punch, tagged Calhoun in, and then got you with another 2 haymakers. The finish was the superstar body slamming you, putting Miss Linda on top of you, and then pinning both of you while slapping her backside.
While spanking her ass. And by the way, when Thomas Marlin one time called the finish in Nashville because the locker rooms were separate, so we couldn't talk to the baby faces. So Thomas Marlin comes over and says to Miss Linda, says, yeah, Dundee's he's gonna pin Cornette and he's gonna turn around and spank your fanny. And they'd first not been in the country for a long time, and apparently the word fanny has a significantly different location in England than it does. It's not your ass in England on a woman. Your fanny is a little bit further toward the front and in between your legs. And as soon as Thomas Marlin said he's going to spank your fanny, Adrian's eyes popped open, as did Linda's. He's going to what? But anyway, yes, that was Dundee was working a program with Adrian Street. Adrian's valet obviously was Linda. They gave him to me to manage him. And since Dundee was the booker, and he was also the only one in the Memphis territory that could really work with Adrian, because Adrian had just been in the United States, in Los Angeles, and then came to Memphis. And so he'd only been here a year or two, and almost his entire frame of reference was World of Sport style and English, European style wrestling. And Dundee could do that, and nobody else could at the time in the territory. So Adrian's matches with other people were not particularly good because it was a style clash. But with Dundee, they were great, and the people got into it. And plus, obviously, Dundee was top babyface. But what had happened was the previous week, Dundee, we worked with Dundee in some fashion or form or combination 10 or 12 weeks in a row. But previously, Calhoun had been the referee in Memphis. This match didn't happen, thankfully, anywhere but Memphis, because that's Calhoun lived there. He didn't work the whole territory. He had another job. But we had done a finish and got some heat on Dundee afterwards, and Calhoun had tried to break it up because he was the referee, and so we'd roughed him up too. So the following week came out on TV, and Dundee said, I want them all 3 in the ring where I can keep an eye on them, and Jerry Calhoun's going to get a chance to get even with that Cornette and that Miss Linda too. And talk about Dundee catching me with some haymakers. They were stiff. I was Dundee's working punch. So at one time, I wasn't wrestling. It was just after a match, and we're getting heat, and Dundee comes in. He grabs me by the tie and punched me so hard in the face I couldn't figure out which way to fall down. And he said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. Then he hit me harder. And so he grabbed me, pickled me once to soften me up, and then he tags Calhoun. But Calhoun, if that wasn't his first ever wrestling match, it was close to it. And it was probably my 3rd or 4th at the same time anyway. But Calhoun, not only had nobody ever taught him how to work, but since Calhoun, he was Lawler's brother-in-law. He was Paula's Lawler's brother. And not only had nobody ever taught him how to work, but Jerry had not been, he'd been maybe a lifelong wrestling fan because he was in Memphis, but he didn't know how this shit worked at all and had never studied anything. So when I had my first couple of matches, I could still drop an elbow because almost anybody can do that. And I could kick and kind of punch, but he didn't know how to work anything. So Dundee told us as soon as Calhoun comes in, he's going to get on top of you and he's going to be kicking the shit out of you. And Miss Linda come and pull Calhoun off of him. And Cornette, you get on Calhoun, and Calhoun, you turn it over, you come by, and then Miss Linda pulls him off again. And finally, the third time, Dundee will come in and give it a big pop by scoop slamming Miss Linda, which brought the fucking house down. But when Calhoun got on top of me. He tackled me by the waist and took me down, and there was no working at all. And I'm trying to get out from under him, and he's stiff. He's got his fucking forearm across my fucking Adam's apple, trying to hold me down. There's no working at all here. So finally, Linda pulls him off. So I get up and fucking turn him over and drop an elbow on him and start trying to work a few punches. And he immediately turns over, gets back on me again. He's kicking the shit out of me. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just covering up, waiting for Linda to save me. But that's what led to the people believing these matches, because obviously none of this was set up ahead of time. And it looked like we were really fighting because, goddamn, I was doing my best to get out from under him. And he was doing his best to stay on top of me. So it didn't look like, like we were trying to shoot each other off, one tackle, drop down, hip toss, whatever. Is like the referee's having a fight with the manager. The girl's tougher than either one of them, but Dundee's going to kick that fucking Adrian Street's ass because he's a queer. That was the thing. And it looked like a bunch of people having a fucking fight. But now, if you'd had the girl and the manager and the referee and whatever, they'd all been trying to do goddamn wrestling and execute spots and have the best possible match they could have. Calhoun's first one in the wrestling business got juice on me. By the time he got off of me, I had a nosebleed. I don't know from what. So that added to it also, because they're like, Cornette's bleeding. And then we had the 3-on-1 handicap match where Dundee threw me out of the ring as it was a lumberjack match and laid my fucking cheek open. I took 20-something stitches. I really bled that night. But there was, that's why it was. That's what those matches look like, is a bunch of people fucking scrapping with each other. And the people enjoyed it because we weren't trying to obviously do shit we didn't know how to do. There you have it.